Hallo Deutschlerner! In my last video I explained the rules for separable prefixes in German. This included a variety of tenses and uses for those verbs and covered pretty much all of the mechanics that you will need in order to use them properly. Today I'm going to introduce you to the most common separable prefixes in German and show you how each of them modify the meaning of the verb to which it is attached. I will use a variety of examples so you can see a lot of the rules that I explained last week, but if you're looking for rules explicitly taught in a video, I recommend that you watch that one before you watch this video. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. If you want worksheets and extra materials for every lesson that I upload, consider hitting that join button down below so that you can become a channel member, or go to patreon.com/Mr. L. Antrim and you can join me there. These people have already done that. First, a quick disclaimer. If you want to translate these prefixes directly from German to English, you will run into a lot of problems. Languages are not one-to-one. They can't be translated with just one word equals another word in each language. It doesn't work like that. This is pretty clear with verbs like gehen, which usually translates to the English verb to go. If you say in English, however, that you are going to the store, you probably mean ich fahre zum Laden instead of ich gehe zum Laden. Gehen requires that you are going on foot, and in English the verb to go doesn't necessarily need to be on foot. You can use a vehicle or even a plane. These kinds of subtle differences is why it's virtually impossible to translate prefixes with one word or even just one idea. They carry a lot of nuance. Basically what I'm saying is that while I will be giving generalizations about the prefixes and their meanings, the more subtle details about the meanings may get lost in the generalizations. So you may have to look at the use in context to find out how a prefix is modifying a verb. The first prefix on my list for today is ab. This prefix is most often associated with removing something or moving something away from something else. Sometimes this removal may give the impression of a downwards movement. Take the verb bauen, for example. Normally, bauen is translated as to build. The verb abbauen is to dismantle. It's literally to build something away. You can think of it as unbuilding something. Bauen, to build. Sie bauen noch einen Starbucks da. They are building another Starbucks there. Abbauen, to dismantle. Nach dem Oktoberfest werden alle Zelte abgebaut. After the Oktoberfest, all of the tents are dismantled. The verb biegen is a fun one visually. Normally it means to bend. Add the prefix ab and it acts more like the English verb to turn. If you think of it literally, it's like saying that you are bending off. You're bending yourself off of the road, or you're bending your path away from the road. Biegen, to bend. Der Mönch biegt den Löffel mit seinem Gehirn. The monk bends the spoon with his mind. Abbiegen, to turn. Biegen Sie bei der nächsten Straße nach rechts ab. Turn right at the next street. A very common use for this prefix would be departures. For example, abfahren and abfliegen. This is the reason that you'll see signs in train stations with the word Abfahrt or in airports with the word Abflug. These are the noun versions of these verbs. They change departing into departure. Here are those two verbs in action. Abfahren, to depart, with something on wheels. Der Zug fährt 10 Uhr ab. The train departs at 10 o'clock. Abfliegen, to depart, with a flying apparatus. Der Flug fliegt 10 Uhr ab. The flight departs or takes off at 10 o'clock. Lesen, to read. Der Bürgermeister liest ein Buch. The mayor is reading a book. Ablesen, to read. Der Bürgermeister liest seine Rede vom Teleprompter ab. The mayor reads his speech from the teleprompter. Since today's list is about the most popular separable prefixes, there are a ton of verbs that use this prefix. Whatever the original verb was, think of the prefix ab as removing that action or taking it off. If you want to see more verb examples for any of the prefixes in this video, I put a link in the description where you can find a list of the most common verbs that are used with each of the prefixes on the list for today. Up next is the prefix an. It generally adds up or on to a verb. Most often it's translated with the English word on. This is one of the easiest prefixes to understand for English speakers, as the translation and the use is pretty much the same in both languages. The most difficult part is stretching your understanding of how on works in English to make sure that you encompass everything that the German prefix does. You can think of an as the kind of yin to ab's yang. An means that things go towards or close to contact, but contact isn't necessary, while ab does the opposite. Let's take a look at some examples so you see what I mean. Bauen, to build. Bob baut einen Schuppen. Bob is building a shed. Anbauen, to build on. Bob baut eine Veranda an. Bob is building on a porch, or Bob is adding a porch. Anbauen, to cultivate. Bob baut Möhren in seinem Garten an. Bob is cultivating or growing carrots in his garden. This verb has two uses. It can be used in a more literal sense and simply take the verb to build and add in the preposition on, but its more common meaning is to grow or cultivate. While at first glance this translation doesn't quite fit, think of what you're doing when you plant or grow something. You build it on the earth. That's what cultivating is. Binden, to tie. So bindet man eine Fliege. This is how you tie a bow tie. Anbinden, to tether. Der Cowboy bindet sein Pferd an. The cowboy tethers his horse, or the cowboy ties his horse to a post. Brennen, to burn. Der Waldbrand brennt seit Mai. The forest fire has been burning since May. Anbrennen, to burn or start burning. Das Omelett brennt an. The omelet is burning. The omelet is starting to burn. Hängen, to hang. Das Bild hängt an der Wand. The picture is hanging on the wall. Anhängen, to attach, hitch or stick. Ich habe das Dokument an diese E-Mail angehängt. I attached the document to this email. The next prefix on my list is auf. Contrary to what many people believe, auf and an are not actually both on. This is abundantly clear with the prefix versions. Auf as a prefix can have several translations. It can be translated with up or upwards. Keeping with the tradition of using bauen in all of my examples so far, here's what it looks like with that verb. Aufbauen, to build up, construct, or establish. Ich habe eine gute Beziehung mit meinen Kollegen aufgebaut. I have built up a good relationship with my colleagues. Treiben, to do, often used with sports. Ich treibe gar keinen Sport. I don't do any sports at all. Treiben, to float. Das Schiff treibt im Hafen. The ship floats in the harbor. Auftreiben, to scare up or get a hold of. Meine Mutter hat mir ein paar S'mores Pop-Tarts aufgetrieben. My mom scared me up some S'mores Pop-Tarts. Leuchten, to light. Das Morgenlicht leuchtet mir das Gesicht. The morning light lights my face. Aufleuchten, to light up. Der Panikalarm leuchtet auf. The panic alarm is lighting up. The prefix auf can also be translated with open. This is due to the fact that opening things often means that you move something up in order to put it in the open position. For example, machen, to make or do. Immer wenn meine Mutter einkaufen möchte, macht sie zuerst eine Liste. Always when my mother would like to go shopping, she makes a list first. Aufmachen, to open or make open. Kannst du bitte die Tür aufmachen? Can you please open the door? Probably the most confusing example with this is the verb schließen. Schließen, to close. Schließ bitte die Tür. Please close the door. Aufschließen, to unlock or open. Der Junge schließt die Tür auf. The boy unlocks or opens the door. The reason this is confusing is due to the fact that almost every textbook I have ever seen only shows the definition to close for schließen, but it also means to lock, which is why it's appropriate for these examples, as aufschließen is literally just to open the lock. The last use of auf is for stopping actions. For example, hören, to hear or listen. Hörst du die Musik? Do you hear the music? Aufhören, to stop. Hör auf, aus dem Müll zu fressen. Stop eating out of the trash. This verb is often confusing for learners as well, as it no longer has the meaning listen in it at all, and it only is left with stop, which is incredibly confusing. The reasoning is simple. It used to be, stop what you're doing and listen up. Over time, the listening part dropped out and the stop part remained. Aren't languages fun? Another fun fact is that this actually means that the prefix auf doesn't mean stop in this instance, it simply means up as we used before. This is true of all of the other times when auf is translated with stop. Aufhalten, to stop. The stopping part comes from the verb halten and not the prefix. It's really to hold up, the same as the English. Aufgeben, to give up. This one isn't even translated as to stop, but it's often given as an example of this prefix meaning to stop, which it clearly doesn't. It still means up. It's true that when you give something up, you stop doing it, but the stopping connotation doesn't come from the prefix. This one is probably one of the easier ones on the list. It's most often translated with out, and that's usually perfect. For example, atmen, to breathe. Der Fisch atmet im Wasser. The fish breathes in the water. Ausatmen, to breathe out. Atme aus, breathe out. By the way, this verb works with several prefixes, as you can breathe in, einatmen, you can breathe out, ausatmen, and you can even do them both, durchatmen. Also, aufatmen is to sigh or breathe easily or relax. Werfen, to throw. Der Spieler wirft den Ball. The player throws the ball. Auswerfen, to eject, expel, or cast, as in fishing. Man sollte den USB-Stick sicher auswerfen, bevor man ihn vom Computer entfernt. You should eject your USB stick securely before you remove it from the computer. Halten, to hold. Der Räuber hält die Pistole in seiner linken Hand. The robber is holding the pistol in his left hand. Aushalten, to withstand, endure, or hold out. Blonde und rothaarige Kinder können die heiße Sommersonne nicht aushalten. Blonde and red-haired children can't withstand the hot summer sun. Bleiben, to stay or remain. Wir bleiben heute zu Hause. We are staying at home today. Ausbleiben, to not show up to some event or to stay out. 2012 ist der Weltuntergang ausgeblieben. In 2012, the end of the world didn't show up or didn't happen. The prefix by has a general together feel to it, but it's usually translated as with or at. It's used to add something to the original verb. For example, tragen, to carry. Mein Hund trägt einen Knochen im Mund. My dog is carrying a bone in its mouth. Beitragen, to contribute. Er trägt gar nichts zu diesem Gespräch bei. He doesn't contribute anything to this conversation. Bringen, to bring. Der Kellner bringt mir ein Glas Wasser. The waiter brings me a glass of water. Beibringen, to teach. Herr Antrim bringt uns Deutsch bei. Beibringen, to teach. Herr Antrim bringt uns Deutsch bei. Herr Antrim teaches us German. Behalten, to keep or retain. Ich behalte diesen kaputten Fernseher, ein Aquarium daraus zu machen. I am keeping this broken television in order to make an aquarium out of it. Beibehalten, to maintain or retain. Obwohl seit 1968 in den USA wohnt, behält seinen Akzent immer noch bei. Although he has lived in the USA since 1968, he still retains or maintains his accent. Treten, to step or kick. Das Mädchen tritt ins Klassenzimmer. The girl steps into the classroom. Beitreten, to join. Leider könnt ihr meinen Klassen nicht beitreten. Unfortunately, you can't join my classes. This prefix generally indicates motion into something, whether this be a literal sense like the verb eintreten, to enter, literally to step in, or a more abstract meaning like einstellen, which means that you set something on your phone or other digital device, or you stop something like production. Here are a few examples. Eintreten, to enter. Als ich das Zimmer eintrat, schauten alle Schüler mich an. When I walked into the room, all of the students looked at me. Einstellen, to set. Ich schlage vor, dass ihr Deutsch als Standardsprache auf Ihrem Handy einstellt. I recommend that you set your default language on your phone to German. Einbauen, to build in, mount or install. Der Klempner baut den neuen Wasserhahn ein. The plumber is installing the new faucet. Einbiegen, to turn into. Biegen Sie in diese Straße ein. Turn into this street. The prefix fort is similar to the English onward or away. For example, fortfahren is to continue or proceed when you're in a vehicle. Alone, fahren just means to drive. Fort isn't nearly as popular as an or ab. It can be used with about half as many verbs as those two prefixes. Here are a few examples of fort. Fortbringen, to bring away or take away. Nach der Party muss ich meine Oma zurück nach Hause fortbringen. After the party, I have to bring my grandmother back home. Fortsetzen, to continue or resume. Morgen setzen wir unsere Lektion über die Wechselpräpositionen fort. Tomorrow we will continue our lesson about the two-way prepositions. Fortjagen, to chase away or drive away. Meine Kinder jagen den Schmetterling fort. My children are chasing the butterfly away. Fortbestehen, to continue or persist. Trotz der Problematik der Statur besteht sie immer noch im Park fort. Despite the problematic nature of the statue, it continues to be in the park. This one is used even less than fort, but is an important one as it means free. This is sometimes monetary, but it doesn't have to be, as it can be a little bit more abstract. For example, freigeben, to release. Herr Antrim gibt am Samstag ein neues Album bei SoundCloud frei. Herr Antrim is releasing a new album on SoundCloud on Saturday. Frei arbeiten, to work free. Der Dieb arbeitet die Wand frei, damit er Geld darin verstauen kann. The thief works the wall free so that he can hide money behind it. Frei machen, to clear or disengage. Hat sich von seiner Arbeit für dich freigemacht. He cleared his work schedule for you. Freilassen, to release or let free. Wenn Kriminelle Politiker werden, lassen Kriminelle Kriminelle frei. When criminals become politicians, criminals set criminals free. The adjective hoch means high. When you use it as a prefix, it means basically the same thing. It's usually used to indicate an upwards motion. Hochhalten, to hold up in a high position. Der Mandrill hält den Löwen hoch. The mandrill holds the lion high. Hochkrempeln, to roll up, like sleeves. Jetzt krempeln wir unsere Ärmel hoch und arbeiten hart. Now we are rolling up our sleeves and working hard. Hochrechnen, to project or extrapolate. Wissenschaftler rechnen hoch, wie viele Bären in den USA im Jahr 2050 sein werden. Scientists project how many bears will be in the USA in the year 2050. Hochschießen, to shoot upwards or launch. Batman schießt seinen Enterhaken hoch. Batman shoots his grappling hook upwards. Another easy-to-understand prefix is mit. It means with and is used as such. Sometimes this is a bit abstract, but for the most part, this prefix is pretty straightforward. Mitarbeiten, to contribute or collaborate. Ich finde es cool, wenn andere YouTuber an meinem Video mitarbeiten können. I think it's cool when other YouTubers can contribute to my video. Mitbringen, to bring along. Mein Sohn bringt immer Dinosaurier mit. My son always brings dinosaurs along. Mithalten, to keep up with. Usain Bolt kann mit mir nicht mithalten. Usain Bolt can't keep up with me. Mithelfen, to help out with or assist. Herr Antrims E-Book hilft mit, das A1-Niveau zu beherrschen. Herr Antrim's e-book helps you to master the A1 level. You sly dog, you, sneaking an e-book ad into your video. Shame on you. The prefix nach always means after. Unfortunately, it isn't always as literal as people would often like. For this reason, many people will tell you that it has several meanings, including following, imitation, or reduction. All of these, however, are just variations of after that are just less literal than the other options. So in my examples for this prefix, I'll show you some literal options and some less literal ones. Nacharbeiten, to rework. Wenn ich mit dem Bearbeiten des Videos fertig bin, arbeite ich es manchmal noch einmal nach. When I'm done with the editing of the video, I sometimes rework it again. Nacherzählen, to retell or recount. Fred erzählt Teds Geschichte nach. Fred retells Ted's story. Nachsehen, to check or look up. Wenn du ein Wort nicht kennst, solltest du im Wörterbuch nachsehen. If you don't know a word, you should look it up in a dictionary. Nachahmen, to imitate. Viele YouTuber ahmen einfach andere YouTuber nach, anstatt etwas Besonderes zu machen. Many YouTubers imitate other YouTubers instead of doing something special or unique. The word tief means deep, but when it's used as a prefix, it's used to indicate the low point of something. In my first example, tief hängen, it means that the branches are hanging at their lowest point. They're hanging down so much that they're in the way of the walking path. Using it as a prefix isn't very common because the meaning is more than just down or downwards, but it's common enough to be on today's list. Here are a few examples. Tief hängen, to hang low or deep. Die Äste des Baumes hängen jetzt tief. The branches of the tree are now hanging low. Tief schlagen, to hit below the belt. Der Boxer schlug gerade tief. The boxer just hit below the belt. Tief halten, to hold low or deep. Der scheue Junge hält seinen Kopf tief. The shy boy holds his head low. Tief sinken, to sink deep. Die Titanic sank 1912 tief. The Titanic sank in 1912. This one simply means away. It's pretty much always translated with the word away, and the English version is very similar. This is one of the easiest prefixes to use. Wegbleiben, to stay away. Bitte bleiben Sie weg. Please stay away. Wegsehen, to look away. Wenn das Monster im Film erscheint, sieht meine Tochter weg. When the monster appears in the movie, my daughter looks away. Wegwerfen, to throw away. Jeden Morgen werfe ich den Kaffeesatz von gestern weg. Every morning I throw out the coffee grounds from yesterday. Wegwischen, to erase or wipe away. Ich wische die Fingerabdrücke vom Fenster weg. I wipe away the fingerprints from the window. I wipe away the fingerprints from the window. I wipe away, I wipe away, I wipe away, I wipe away, I wipe away. The prefix zu means to or towards. This is also sometimes translated as close, but that's due to the fact that whenever something is going to the wall, or whatever the position is, it's the closed position. For example, zumachen is literally to make to, but it's translated as to close. The reason for that is you're making it to the closed position. Zumachen, to close. Mach bitte die Tür zu. Please close the door. Zunehmen, to gain weight. Seit der Quarantäne habe ich 10 Kilo zugenommen. Since the quarantine, I have gained 10 kilos. Zudecken, to tuck in. Seine Mutter deckt ihn jeden Abend zu. His mother tucks him in every evening. Zudrücken, to press closed. Nachdem du den Pool aufgeblasen hast, musst du den Lochdeckel zudrücken. After you have blown up the pool, you have to press the hole cover closed. Now that you know what the most common separable prefixes are in German, you can use them on your own. If you want a list of verbs that are paired with each prefix, you can find that linked in the description. If you want to practice what you've learned in this video, you can get a worksheet with an answer key on my website germanwithantrim.com. Das ist alles für heute. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!